And we welcome you into the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show as the 10th-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions with a Big Ten battle this weekend with the 3rd-ranked Michigan Wolverines unbeaten on the O'Brien trip. Delighted to be with you tonight. And as always on this Wednesday, we kick it off with head coach James Franklin addressing the media.
Questions for Coach?
No? Yeah, like I think I said that to you guys on Monday, that we're hopeful that he'll be ready to go.
How did he look today?
Good. I spend most of the time on the offensive side of the field, so I got to watch the tape. But good. He looked good on Sunday. He looked good on Monday. I'll watch the tape. But yeah, good.
How would you say you're on the practice field thus far this week? Your passing attack and momentum, confidence, whatever you want to call it, coming out of the Maryland matchup. Is that something that you can feel on the field? Can you sense it with the way these guys are approaching the practice?
No, I think we've been making steady progress all year long. I wouldn't necessarily say anything significantly different from last week, but I think we've been making steady progress in practices and a little bit in the games.
James, we saw Tony Rojas make some plays at the end of the Maryland game. Is he someone that can factor more in the rotation earlier in the game?
He did some really good things. Obviously, we feel really good about the guys that are ahead of him as well. We'll see how that plays out, but I do think it is a positive that we got young guys that are getting a ton of reps right now, and that we got young guys that not only are getting a ton of reps but are making plays, which allows them to gain confidence and the coaches to gain confidence in them.
James, what do Friday, Saturday look like for you personally from a recruiting perspective? How much time do you have to spend on that, and how do you balance it personally between the recruiting and the game prep?
Yeah, I think this is one of the Fridays where I'm not out. I've been out a good portion of the year, not every game, but a good portion of the year, either Friday morning and Friday night. I don't think I'm out this week. And then we got a ton of recruits coming in on Saturday, and that's the hard part, especially with it being a 12 o'clock game. You know, that makes it challenging. But I also think we try to communicate as much as we can with the recruits that, look, you just got to understand we don't have a whole lot of opportunity to sit down with guys individually. So I think most of them understand that. And then some of them that are able to get in here early, then we may do something with them if they're here Friday, or if they're staying the night. Saturday allows us to do some things on Sunday, but it's challenging. But obviously the game environment and the game, should create a great experience for them.
James, K-Tron, his last 2 weeks, how would you assess how he's played, and in what you call a big boy game, his running style, his power, how much does that play?
Yeah, really well. I mean, he's been playing really well now. I think he really built on what he did last year. He is a tough guy. Every run, he's usually breaking tackles, punishing tacklers, carrying guys for another 2 or 3 yards, is really playing well. And, we talk about toughness, being one of our, key ingredients as a team and on offense. And I think he's one of the guys that I think does a phenomenal job of kind of setting that tone for our whole team. It fires up the sideline, and then it fires up the offensive line. And he's having a really good year, and I think he's respected kind of throughout the league with the way he runs and his running style.
For a week like this, as the head coach, what would you say your principles are when it comes to which motivational buttons to push and when to push them?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because, as you can imagine, over 9 years, I've tried about everything, right? Trying to keep the approach as consistent and steady as we can. After wins, coaching the guys really hard, so there's no complacency kind of seeping into the program. Try to keep things as consistent as possible, but then there's different kind of methods and models that we've used over 9 years in trying to kind of figure out the best way to do it. And then the other challenge is right, every team is different. So something maybe you've done 2 years ago, maybe that wasn't the right thing for that team, but maybe it is for this team. So just trying to kind of understand the temperament of the team, and that's where the leadership council comes in, or the captains come in to kind of get a feel where they're at with things. I met with the captains on, I think it was Tuesday before practice. Theo kind of had some comments to the offense as well. Keaton Ellis had some comments to the defense I thought were good messages overall. But that's constantly what, I'm trying to do, what I stay up late thinking about or early in the morning thinking about. I have discussions. I went in with the defensive staff and kind of talked about some things from a strategy standpoint this morning with Manny and the defensive staff. Just trying to find any little advantage we can that's going to give us a chance to get a win on Saturday. So that's what the entire week is about.
Coach, you're talking about your depth a little bit. How key is it in a top 10 showdown like this one against a team that's very well rounded?
Yeah, it's really important at this point of the year that we have at least a 2 deep going in the game that's gained experience. So that allows you with a 3 deep to have maybe one guy that's bumped up or bruised. So I think the depth is really important. They got a lot of depth on their defense and their front seven and play a ton of guys. We do as well. That's going to be important. This quarterback is a heck of an athlete, and being able to have fresh bodies in there to be able to kind of chase him and create some pressure is going to be really important.
You mentioned how the practices. Thank you. What's the value of zone pressure? It seems like something that a lot of teams are doing more lately than maybe in the past.
Well, it really depends. If you're a zone team, then you probably live in that a lot. If you're a man team, then that's a good change-up, right? And I think what you're trying to decide each week is when you watch people on tape, what is that quarterback most comfortable with? Is he most comfortable with man coverage and man beaters? Does he read zone coverage well and have a feel for space and depth? That's what you're trying to decide, and you're really trying to say, okay, what's going to be our complement this week? Are we going to mix in some zone pressures? Are we going to, go heavy man pressure? And that's what you're trying to do to try to confuse the quarterback and try to confuse the coordinator to show one thing and bring another type of deal. And those zone concepts sometimes help with that and sometimes allow you to do that. Or, the formations play a part in that as well, right? If you're getting a lot of mesh and crossing routes, then obviously, your zone complements help with that too.
You mentioned how practices have gotten better throughout the weeks. How is the team taking the next elite level to prepare for an opponent like Michigan?
Yeah, we just try to get better every single week.
James, first and second down, always important. But is it more so in a game like this when you've got 2 elite defenses on the field?
Yeah, I think it's critical. I mean, as we know, a couple weeks ago, that was a problem. We got behind the sticks, and you don't want to get behind the sticks against elite defenses. You guys see when that happens, for our defense, when we're able to get people in obvious passing downs, that's not a whole lot of fun. When you got the pass rushers that we do and the scheme that we do, and the same with them. So doing everything we can to scratch, claw, fight, to manufacture offense, to make plays, and to stay ahead of the sticks. They've been pretty much ahead on the scoreboard and on the sticks on offense and defense all year long. So trying to get them to play in a way they have not played really this year.
James, we talked to Kaden today, and he was pretty honest in his assessment of how he played a couple weeks ago at Ohio State, but he said the big thing that he took away from that game was making sure that it didn't linger, it didn't carry over into his future performance. In his 3 years here, how have you seen his maturity kind of come along in addition to being on the field? Yeah,
he's an awesome young man, and Terry's done a really good job with him as well. It really helped that he came from a great high school program. It really helped that he was raised extremely well, mom and dad. Obviously, him and his brother are very tight, and that's a tremendous support system for him here as well. But but he's always had a lot of belief in himself. He's always been super competitive since he stepped on campus, and he's been coachable. And I think him and Terry have developed a really strong relationship. So I'm proud of him. I'm very, very proud of him. He's done well academically. He's really done a good job in his 3 years of kind of maximizing this experience and kind of taking it all in. And his maturity on and off the field is another example of that.
You mentioned, I think, recently the dominance in the third quarter for you guys. I think the number is like 87-0.
Yeah, Nurs is the same way.
Yeah, right. What goes into that dominance, and what kind of impact is it going to have?
Well, I think obviously, you got two really good defenses that also set their offenses up for success. And I think both defenses are playing really good in the first and second half, but they're also experienced coordinators that also now, after having a good idea of what they've done in the first two quarters, have got a pretty good idea of what they're doing and how they're trying to attack you. So then you can make some subtle adjustments with the players. You can talk with the coaching staff about how we're going to approach the second half. Eliminate some of the calls that maybe gave you some issues in the first half, lean heavily into the calls that were successful. But I think it's kind of like a player, right? You get into a rhythm. You get into a rhythm of how to call the play and what we're doing well and what's giving them problems. Thanks, guys.
So that's head coach James Franklin addressing the media on this Wednesday ahead of 10th-ranked Penn State and 3rd-ranked Michigan, the 27th all-time meeting between the two teams. They've split the last 6, both teams ranking in the top 10. It's a great matchup. It's a top 10 matchup, both in scoring offense and scoring defense as well. Live inside the Lasch Building here on this Wednesday night. Brian Tripp, thanks for being with us here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show, and we're joined tonight, as we are every Wednesday, by former Nittany Lion Jason Kabinda. And Jason, we just heard from Coach there. Obviously, so much excitement, I think, across Nittany Nation going into this matchup. When you hear Penn State and Michigan, you played in so many of these big games during your career. What are the first things that come to mind as you get set for this weekend?
Man, you hate to say it, but it's a rivalry. That's what it is. It's a huge game. It's a rivalry. It's a season-defining game for us. We got to go out there and we got to bring our A game. Michigan's a great team. Historically, they've always been a great team. And I think what I love about this game, about these two organizations, I feel like they're made up of the same type of stuff. When we face each other, it's really about, all right, who's going to go out there? Who's going to be the tougher team? Who's going to want it more? That's what this game has always been about to me. So I'm really excited for it.
Well, we're going to hear from Kaden Wallace coming up tonight, KJ Winston as well. We'll also talk some Penn State women's soccer later in the show. Jason, anything stick out to you that you heard from Coach right there during his weekly Wednesday media availability as he was asked a whole bunch of questions that really spanned both the offensive and defensive side of the football?
Yeah, I think to me one great point that Coach Franklin brought up that I was actually going to bring up later in the show is the fact that, Michigan's never played from behind. They've never really been put in truly uncomfortable situations. And when I look at this game, I see a Penn State team that, although failed in its test against Ohio State, has at least been tested in that manner. So, Michigan hasn't really played anybody this year. So I think this game is going to be their first test. And I feel like if we can put them in an uncomfortable spot, if we put them in a place they've never been this year, that they can fold. So I'm excited to see us do that and kind of bend their will to our favor.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And playing in a place like Beaver Stadium, I know it's a noon kick, but Coach talked earlier this week about how the fans can impact the game and also how fans then are engaged in the entire game. You don't get drowsy in the second half. How can the fans impact the game against Michigan? We obviously know a couple of years ago when Michigan had to call that timeout before their first play from scrimmage in the whiteout.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I've played in damn near every stadium in the NFL, and there is just absolutely nothing that compares to Beaver Stadium and 110,000 fans screaming their heads off. They say Michigan's the big house. Ohio State has a huge stadium, but at the end of the day, our fans, when they come to games, they come to be the show. They don't come to watch the show. They come to be it. So I'm fully expecting multiple false starts being forced by our fans this game, and just a whole lot of rowdiness, man. They're going to be ready. 12 o'clock kickoff. They're going to have their coffee in early. I'm excited.
Well, it's the stripe out coming up on Saturday. Noon kick. Fox Big Noon is here. It'll be on Fox for those of you not attending the game. Also, if you're watching our show tonight, let us know where you're watching from. Leave some comments. Any questions you have for myself, Jason, or any of our student athletes, leave those questions in the comments section. All right, let's dive into our key players to watch for this week's matchup. And we start with Penn State on the offensive side of the football. Jason, Drew Aller coming off a 4-touchdown performance at Maryland. Do you also see his ability to use his legs in this game as well? What impressed you about Drew last week?
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things that I love seeing out of his game during this Maryland game was there were a few plays where he really had to improvise. You know, they weren't necessarily perfect key reads or necessarily where the ball was supposed to go, but he made things work. And that's what happens in football. You know, sometimes your first read isn't there, or maybe whoever the ball is supposed to go to doesn't end up getting there. And now you have to, you got to go out there and you got to play ball. And he was able to do that on multiple occasions. You know, you saw it on the goal line, that little flip pass over to Theo Johnson was one example of that. So I think he just needs to be poised. He needs to play calm, no panic, no deer in headlights. I think he's going to be good to go and ready. And Coach Franklin will have them boys ready.
2 more touchdowns from tight ends and these dimes to Dante Cephas in that performance against the Terrapins on Saturday. Obviously, the defensive side of the football going to be tested as well here going into this matchup with Michigan. And we start up front, the defensive tackles for Penn State. Penn State held Maryland, and they didn't run the ball a lot. Look at that, negative 49 rushing yards. But Penn State's run defense ranked number 1 in the country right now. This group, a big reason why they've played exceptional football.
I mean, you said it right there. Negative 49 rushing yards. That's a stat that you don't hear every day. I mean, those boys up front are eating. That's where this game's going to start. It's going to start in the trenches, and it starts with these interior D linemen. Zane Durant, Hakeem, Keziah, these guys getting after it, pushing the pocket, and really just being a brick wall at the line of scrimmage. They're going to be huge for this game.
Yeah, and then obviously the defensive ends have played exceptional as well. Adisa Isaac, 10.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks on the season. Coach just talked about the potential of Chop Robinson's availability this week. And then the linebacker position, anytime you're going against a really good run defense, a really good run offense, Jason, it's not only that first level, it's the second and third levels. Abdul Carter coming off one of his better games of the year.
Absolutely. And, Michigan has a ton of good skill players. Abdul's going to have to be active. I already know Manny Diaz has plenty for him, whether it's blitzing him, whether it's dropping him back in coverage. The kid can do it all. There's a reason why he's wearing that number 11. As you know, there have been plenty of very famous number 11s to wear that jersey. So I'm expecting him to fully bring it. I'm expecting him to be a leader out there and have his teammates ready to go. He's going to be flying around.
All right, so those are our key players to watch for Penn State. Let's throw up there Michigan's key players to watch. And again, they're a talented team. You could put a lot of players on this list. But Jason, obviously J.J. McCarthy has made great strides this year at the quarterback position. You see his completion percentage, which really is outstanding. Over 2,000 yards passing, 18 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's been very efficient, very effective, 21-1 as a starting quarterback in college football.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. When I see those first 2 names, JJ and Blake, I mean, those are the guys that really make this offense go. I think JJ McCarthy's taken a huge stride from last year. I mean, he just looks really comfortable. He's distributing the ball all across a bunch of different players. You see his touchdown to interception ratio. He's taking care of the football. So this is a guy that we are really going to have to make uncomfortable. And, the crowd, that's the pressure up front, and the D-line getting there, a culmination of all of those things to make sure that this is the toughest environment that he's played in.
Yeah, and obviously the defensive side of the football really, really good for Michigan as well. Again, we could go up with a lot of guys, but you can see the way that their safety has taken advantage of the turnovers this year and turned those into points for the Wolverines.
Absolutely. You see his 3 interceptions. I mean, it's huge for a defense to get a turnover and set your offense up to go up there and score, especially when you have a good offense like Michigan does. So, that's a guy that's doing a good job of taking the ball away. We're going to have to do a good job of making sure that doesn't happen in this game. And it's going to be those little things that really separate who wins in this game.
So Penn State and Michigan, the matchup coming up on Saturday at Beaver Stadium. Brian Tripp, Jason Kabinda with us all night long as well here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. And Kaden Wallace, Penn State offensive lineman, has made every start at right tackle this year, joins us as well. I like that hoodie a lot there, Kaden, tonight. As you get set for this week's matchup, Kaden, coming off such a strong performance against Maryland, what's the feeling in the locker room this week, knowing that you guys played one of your better football games last Saturday?
Yeah, we're just confident. We're hyped up and we're ready to go. Like, we have a good game plan. We've been working hard, and we're just ready to go out and show it.
We have Jason with us as well. He's going to ask you a few questions. Jason Kabinda, former Nittany Lion linebackers, with us live on the show here tonight. Jason, take it.
Man, that's what I like to hear, Kaden, man. I seen you from Jersey, man. I've been watching the way you play, the way you bring it up front, pushing and laying on guys, man. What does it mean to be from Jersey, man, to kind of carry that that chip on your shoulder. Tell us a little bit about that, man, because I'm from Jersey too, so I know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely being from a neighboring state to Pennsylvania, I just feel like some pride, going out on the field every day. Like, I got to put on for my guys in New Jersey. Got a lot of teammates that came from New Jersey, in college and in high school. Guys I met that play in different colleges around the world. So, I'm just happy to put on and, serve New Jersey well, I guess.
No doubt about it. You represented us well, man. You keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, obviously, I think Jason and I were just talking about the way that the offense was balanced last week. How important when you're able to get that balance and you guys in the trenches are feeding when that run game's going and Katron's running guys over and Nicholas is going in that run game. How important is it to have that balance to get the offense on track?
It really just makes everything flow. Like, we're all on the same page. We're getting positive yards. We can stay on schedule, and everyone's motivated. Like, once you get 5 yards, you want 10. Once you get 10, you want 15. So it just really drives us all to really grind it out. And having guys like Katron, Nick, Trey Potts, all these guys in our backfield, it's just amazing to have them. It really motivates us to drive and, do everything we can to get these guys some yards.
That's awesome. That's what I love to hear, man. I mean, I see the way you guys are laying on guys up front. Like you said, you guys are churning out really, really efficient runs week in and week out. How close-knit would you say you guys as an O-line group are? Because through my years and really in for the past few years in general, we haven't had great O-line units. So to have a great O-line unit this year, it's been so obvious how much that has helped the offense and how much you guys have been able to allow Drew Aller to grow and breathe and not get agitated because he's not, hitting the ground and stuff like that. How close-knit of a group are you guys as an O-line?
I would say we're an extremely close unit, and really our closeness started from just wanting to be better at ball. We know that, us being as close as we can will combine for, really good, mendedness, friendship, brotherhood on the field. So it's like we knew that if we were all really close, then it would help us out on the field. So hanging out in the summer and having the same common goal of protecting Drew and getting our back some yards, that just really, aligns our ideas all together, really helps us out.
Kate, that's something that someone's talked about. I think every week we've had someone on the show is the brotherhood on this team, how close that is, and I know that's something that's really paid off for the team throughout the course of the season. When you look at your offensive line, not just the brotherhood you have, but also the depth along that line, being able to get guys like Drew, Vanga, the list goes on and on. How important has the depth been so you guys feel like you're at your best this time of year?
I would say the depth is extremely important. We have guys like you said, Drew and V and all these other guys that can just come in and there won't be a massive shift or anything like that. So knowing that as a unit helps us to drive more. We're able to keep our guys healthier. We're able to drive more. So it's really good to have those guys. And we really trust those guys too. So it's really it combines for more brotherhood, more friendship.
Jason, I'm going to let this guy get out of here after this one. You've played in a lot of big games in Beaver Stadium. You've played a long time here at Penn State. How would you describe what that atmosphere can mean for your team on Saturday and just the opportunity to play in a matchup of two superb teams, two top 10 teams coming up on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I've been here a while now, and I know for a fact that we're going to bring our best effort and that they're going to bring theirs. So we're just all getting prepared. The atmosphere is always awesome in games like this. So we're excited for the fans to come out and, put on a show. So it's going to be awesome. We're excited.
Fans are going to put on a show. You guys are going to put on a show. Kaden, really appreciate the time as always. I know you love doing these things. Thanks for doing it.
I do. Thank you so much.
Kaden Wallace with us here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show as the Nittany Lions get set to take on Michigan coming up on Saturday at Beaver Stadium. Here's a look at our game week timeline, our game day timeline. Lots are opening at 7 a.m., the block party at 8 a.m., then the one-way traffic pattern, and then, of course, team arrival. The stadium gates opening up at 10 a.m. on Saturday. The tailgate show, the Blue Band March, all going on. And again, that's the game day timeline, and there's our game week schedule. Of course, we have our Wednesday Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show going on here tonight. And don't forget our, again, game day schedule coming up for Saturday at Beaver Stadium as the Nittany Lions get set to take on the Michigan Wolverines. So now we have KJ Winston with us here, Penn State safety. He joined us post-game a couple of weeks ago on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. And KJ, I just asked the same question to Kaden moments ago. You guys are coming off such a strong performance, complimentary football on Saturday against Maryland. What has the carryover been into your preparation this week as you get set for Michigan?
Yeah, it's a big thing, a big boost of confidence, but, we're not hopping on it too much. It's time to move on, next game and do the same thing this week and, accomplish everything we did last week and then build on that and even improve even more.
I love how you say that. You put it away. We went We dominated Maryland. Well, we did what we did. But look, now it's time to move on to next week. You know, how has a guy like Manny Diaz been inspiring that mentality out of you guys and that maturity? Because I see it in the way you guys play.
Yeah, you know, every week no matter how much success we have, he shows and tells us that we have more in us. Like no matter how good we do, there's so much more. We know how good we could be, and then, you know, once he's constantly telling us, we start realizing and seeing ourselves, and we have the vision just like he does. And it's like every week we see we improve from, you know, last week, and we do things better, and we just learn from it. And, you know, we're never satisfied with the success we have. So, you know, just coming from each week, we're trying to improve and be the better defense each week, and the team as well. Building on from Manny Diaz, that's the culture in the building.
Coach was just talking about moments ago, believing in that process and buying into that process. It's not, look, I know you guys want the results, and the results are really important at the end of the day, but it seems like this team really has embraced the mindset of making sure you're getting better every single week and every single day. How are you getting better as the season's gone on?
I mean, honestly, just me personally.
Yeah.
I say me personally, just understanding the game and understanding what's going on around me and things like that, being comfortable with the people on the defense and understanding what everybody else is doing, not just me. Because, you know, coming in first couple games, first couple starts, I'm getting used to just understanding how the game, the flow of the game, the speed. I'm just understanding how to, you know, find myself out there. But I'm starting to, you know, feel myself telling other guys how to, like, certain situations, being able to communicate with guys and understanding how the game, how people are trying to attack us, just understanding the game, being a student of the game now.
Jason, I got a question for you two here. I'd actually like to hear both of you go back and forth on this. As a football player, as a linebacker, when you played here at Penn State, each year, how did you grow? How did you become more mature? And when did you really start to feel comfortable in that defense that you were playing in at the time?
Yeah, I think for me, especially being that, you know, as a high school, I really only played offense for the most part. So I had an adjustment period when I came to linebacker. And, you know, my sophomore year when I became a starter, I think I really had no choice as a Mike linebacker, you know, kind of taking on that leadership role. But in terms of being comfortable, I'll say it was really my junior year that I really did it, when I felt like I knew the playbook by the back of my hand. You know, Coach Pry at our time, our defensive coordinator at the time, you know, did such a good job of, you know, molding me and teaching me and doing all those things. And I think just as a team, the way we grinded together, we were so close. You know, KJ talks about the communication and understanding of the game. I mean, we really had that. We looked to our left and our right. We trusted our brothers. We communicated out there. So it's really awesome to hear you say that, you know, and even losing a guy like Chop, I know that takes away from that communication. I know you guys are doing everything you can to kind of rally around that and everybody kind of stepping up in that role to fill that void.
Yeah.
How are you feeling that brotherhood that Jason's talking about in that defense, that communication, everything you have, that chemistry back there?
Yeah, I feel that great. It's hearing him say that's exactly what we have going right now. You know, even it starts with, you know, off the field, who you like, just being around each other, just when we're not doing football, because, you know, just doing football, everything together. We're outside of football, we're just hanging around with each other, playing the video games with each other, doing certain things like that. So once you build that bond, like even when it's not good stuff, like you're getting on your brother about, you know, you got to improve this. You guys have that relationship to, you know, communicate with each other, get on each other, and push each other to do better. And when you have that relationship, you know, it makes everybody better, and everybody play comfortable with each other and be comfortable with the guys you're going out there and going to war with.
You're getting on your brothers when they're missing assignments on the football field and when they're not doing laundry at your place at home, I bet.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
What did it mean to have Chop down there on the sideline, and how vocal and how much of a leader he was, even though he wasn't playing in the game last week? I noticed that down on field level.
Yeah, it meant a lot. You know, Chop, you could see it on his face. He wasn't, you know, bummed out, because obviously, you know, he probably was bummed out he couldn't play, but he didn't show that. He just showed he was out there having fun, like he was playing, cheering on the guys that was in there, and, you know, just pushing everybody. You know, we were playing for him, so, you know, seeing him happy and everything like that, that's all we wanted to just bring happiness to him, since he couldn't play, and he was more than happy to be out there.
I love it. I absolutely love it, man. I think, you know, playing for your brother, I think you talk about accountability so much. I think that's what made our teams the best. You know, when we were out there at practice and somebody made a mistake or we messed up a play, we're the ones asking coach, hey, we need to run that back, or we need to see that again, before our coach or our DC was the one saying, hey, run the play back. We were yelling at our coach like, hey, we need to see that again, because at the end of the day, as players, we're the ones that are on the field. So if we're not accountable for each other the way you're talking, you know, you're not going to go out there and put out a great product. So I think that's super important. I'm really glad that you guys are, you know, taking that serious and getting on each other for everything, because that's what you got to do. That's how champions are made.
Sorry.
KJ, last one for you. We'll let you get out of here. The excitement of going back into Beaver Stadium, playing in front of a packed house, stripe out on Saturday, and how can that crowd impact the game?
You know, of course, as on defense, it's obvious, you know, best student section, crowd, fans, everything in the nation. So, just having them behind our backs, cheering, going crazy, first play of the game all through the game, just having them behind us, gives us a little advantage, allows us to, affects the offensive communication and things like that. So, it also boosts us, being out there, having all that energy. It has us going out there, and we look forward to having that behind us, and we really appreciate it and don't take it for granted. So we're just looking forward to getting back in that stadium and, making our fans proud.
And who's the best video gamer on the team?
Can I say? It goes from game to game, but the most consistent in all the games, I've got to say, probably Jalen Reed.
Jalen Reed, all right,
Yeah.
Jay Reed.
Yeah.
And he's got a dog to take care of. And he's got a dog.
So I don't know how he's doing all these different things, but he seems to be good at pretty much every game he plays.
I like that you stuck with the safety room there as
Yeah,
well. KJ, really appreciate it. Good luck
Yeah,
this weekend.
appreciate
KJ Winston joining us here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show ahead of Penn State and Michigan. The Nittany Lions and the Wolverines doing battle at Beaver Stadium coming up on Saturday. Let's dive into Jason's keys to the game. We hit on the offense and the way that they played in that game at Maryland. Jason, any game that you're playing in, as you know, controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football is so important, and that's why you identify that as your first key to the game on Saturday.
Yeah, I think to me, you got two powerhouse programs that are really evenly matched. So I think at the end of the day, what we're going to see in terms of who's going to win this game is who is controlling the trenches. That's on the offensive side of the ball. That's on the defensive side of the ball. On offense, we got to be able to run the ball efficiently. There's no doubt about it. We got to take that pressure off of Drew. We got to be able to be efficient, be in great downs and distances and really friendly stuff for the offensive coordinator to call easy plays. And then on the defensive side, obviously, you got a guy like J.J. McCarthy coming in here. He's been comfortable all year. This Michigan team in general has been comfortable. So what are we going to do to put the pressure on him, make him force mistakes, force throws, and hopefully turn them into turnovers and things of that nature? I think is going to be huge for us.
Well, that Penn State defensive line, as you can tell, has been so good at doing that this season. And you talked about the efficiency on offense and being effective, especially on early downs. That allows you to stay on schedule, use that run game, use those tight ends, use those short passes to a guy like Keandre Lambert-Smith, get in a rhythm that's so important on the offensive side of the football.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got weapons, man. We've got plenty of players who can go out there and make plays. I don't want to go out here and see this game and see the type of game where Drew Aller has to play hero ball. That can't be the type of game that we play. We got to run the ball well. We got to get Katron going. We got to get Nick Singleton going. These guys, we need long runs, efficient runs. And then when it's time to hit that play action pass and hit them for a deep one, we do that. But I think this game offensively has to be a very methodical game in my mind, because this Michigan defense is a very, very good defense, and they're very stingy, so and opportunistic as well. So we got to be efficient. We got to be disciplined. We got to stay on schedule.
And Michigan's defense, as I talked about, has scored this year also when they create turnovers. Michigan has scored on 13 of the 15 opportunities that they've had for points off of turnovers this season. And that's one of the little things you have to take care of. Field position, so many different things in a game like this. The little things really add up.
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, when you have two teams that are this evenly matched, it's the little things that matter. It's the penalties. It's the false starts. It's the discipline after the whistle type of penalties. It's field position. You know, the difference between pinning them in at the 10-yard line or them having a touchback at the 25. All these little things during this game are going to add up, and they're going to matter. And then at the end of the day, there's going to be critical moments in this game. And during those critical moments, we have to have the type of players that aren't looking around trying to find out who's going to step up and make the play, but have guys that say, hey, coach, give me the ball because I'm going to be the one to go out there and win us this game. That's the type of attitude we got to have going into this game.
Well, I love it. I love that attitude. I'm ready to run through a wall right now. I'm ready to see this game on Saturday. I'm ready, and it's only Wednesday. Jason, great stuff. Really appreciate it, as always, here tonight. We're looking forward to the stripe out coming up on Saturday at Beaver Stadium.
Absolutely. Let's get it. We are.
Jason Kabinda, former Nittany Lion linebacker, joining us here, as he does every Wednesday for the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. As you can see it there, the Penn State stripe out. Know where you're sitting and what color to wear. We want those visual effects of the stripe out on Saturday. No doubt it is going to be an awesome game day environment at Beaver Stadium. Jason talked about how many great moments he's been a part of in that stadium. Fans relive some of those moments. There's some history in these game programs. They're available at all Penn State bookstore locations and select concession stands as well. Well, Jason, one of our Nittany Lions at the next level right now. Let's also take a look back at some outstanding plays, particularly on the defensive side of the football, with our weekly NFL highlights.
A great day on defense Sunday as Bengals safety Nick Scott helped force and recover a fourth quarter fumble to preserve a win against the Bills. Falcons linebacker Arnold Ebiketie continued a great season, picking up a strip sack against the Vikings. And Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons with 1.5 sacks and 9 tackles, despite falling in a nail-biter against Philadelphia. And on the other side of the football, Commanders wide receiver Jahan Dotson stays hot with a 33-yard touchdown grab against the Patriots. A great day on defense Sunday as Bengals safety Nick Scott helped force and recover a fourth-quarter fumble to preserve a win against the
So nice we saw it twice. The NFL highlights this week. So great to be with you here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. As we said, big football game coming up on Saturday. But if you're coming to town for Penn State and Michigan with a noon kick, I suspect a lot of you will be here early. The Penn State women's soccer team kicks off its NCAA tournament run, 6 o'clock Central Connecticut State at Jeffrey Field on Friday. And we're joined by the Big Ten Defender of the Year, Senior Corey Dyke, a part of that Penn State women's soccer team, which had a remarkable regular season run and now looks to do it again in the postseason. And Corey, number one, the excitement of your team. You build all year to get to this tournament and make a run at the College Cup. What's the excitement level to get it going?
It's through the roof. I mean, we're super blessed. We're sitting there for the selection show, and there's no guarantees ever. That's hard work. That's earned. Nothing's given. So every time we hear our name called, we feel super blessed, super grateful, and we've had a great week of training. We're just super excited to get out there and start the tournament on Friday.
Well, you've been through these postseasons before. What does it take to be successful this time of year?
For starters, it's just focusing on one game at a time. Obviously we have the ultimate goal of winning the whole thing, but that starts by going 1-0 on Friday. So we like to take every single opponent seriously, and that starts with our prep all through this week, and just do that together and keep working hard and keep our gaze just focused on this next game.
When you look at the ability and the opportunity then to have, when you have a great regular season, that means you get to host a couple of rounds. What does it mean to be able to play here at Jeffrey Field?
It's unbelievable. I mean, especially as a senior and it being my last go-around, the longer we can be on Jeffrey Field, the better. It's the best place to be in college soccer, in my opinion. But again, we got to take care of business on Friday, and then, next one after that to extend our run on Jeff as long as possible.
The Big Ten loaded again this year, as it is every year, a team neck and neck throughout the entire season at the top of the standings, but also that non-conference schedule your team played. It was a very challenging schedule. How do all the experiences throughout the year really benefit you this time of year? Number one, playing a challenging schedule, but also all the different looks that you get from the different styles that those teams are playing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think our coaches did an excellent job creating our schedule this year with the non-conference teams, like you said. And then, the Big Ten this year was excellent. I think it was a record 9 teams getting into the NCAA tournament, which is unbelievable. We like to take lessons from every single team that we've played, which I think we did in the non-conference leading into our conference schedule. And now having played so many great Big Ten teams that each have different strengths, we feel like we're prepared to face anything that any team throws at us.
And watching your team play, it seems like you're built to handle any different scenario that's thrown at you as well. What makes your team so good with the different depth that you have, also the different ways that you can align, knowing that you're always going to have Cat behind you too on the back end?
100%. I mean, the depth, like you said, is huge for us. Our depth this year has been excellent. People coming off the bench, people stepping up, taking different roles. But I think our chemistry off the field, which translates onto the field, has been huge for us, and that allows us to be able to communicate well to solve problems with anything that the teams are throwing at us.
Well, the first 100 students are going to get in free coming up on Friday at Jeffrey Field. For all the football fans coming to town, this is your chance, your pitch. What can they expect, no pun intended, if they come out to watch the team at Jeffrey Field on Friday?
I mean, we're just going to get after it. I mean, we're a team that loves to play soccer. We love what we're doing. We have fun doing it with our teammates to our left and to our right. We're going to play good soccer. We're going to get stuck in on our tackles and hopefully score a lot of goals for you. So please show out at Jeffrey Field, and we would really appreciate it.
I love that as well. And also the men's team right now competing in the Big Ten tournament. They've had a great run. What's it say about just Penn State soccer in general to have both your team and then the men's team poised to have such a deep postseason run as well?
I mean, it's awesome. It's a great look for Penn State. There's a lot of mutual support there from both programs, and I think that's a credit to Erica and Jeff. That starts with them at the top and it trickles all the way down, but I think we've created a great soccer culture here at Penn State.
Well, not only a great soccer culture, but you look at what the field hockey and women's volleyball, football, the list goes on and on what those teams are doing. Of course, we're getting into the winter seasons now, and ice hockey, wrestling. It's just a great time to be a Nittany Lion. Corey, you're one of the great Nittany Lions. We appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you.
Corey Dyke joining us here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. She did not know what was next next, but she perfectly segues us into the Penn State Coaches Show featuring head coach James Franklin and her head coach Erica Damba coming up on the Penn State Coaches Show tomorrow. You can find the live audio stream on Lion Vision. Also go to gopsusports.com for that. And that's hosted by The Field Burger and Tap and presented by Pepsi. There is our Big Ten men's soccer tournament bracket. Indiana, Michigan, top half, Penn State, Ohio State in the bottom half of the bracket. Nittany Lions taking on the Buckeyes right now at Jeffrey Field. And again, that is airing on the Big Ten Network. So after we wrap up, it is 1-1 at halftime. After we wrap up, go over to the Big Ten Network and watch the second half and see if Jeff Cook's team can advance to the Big Ten Championship, which will be taking place on Sunday at noon. So the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show here tonight from the Lasch Football Building, Penn State and Michigan. What a great matchup. The teams have split the last 6. 2 top 10 teams, top 10 in scoring offense, scoring defense. We went through with Jason Kabinda all the great players on both sides of the football, not only for Penn State, but of course the opponent as well. And great stuff tonight from Kaden Wallace and KJ Winston. We've seen those comments all night long. Appreciate Gary. We appreciate everyone tuning in. AB, we saw those comments. Thanks for the shout out on the hoodie as well. Really appreciate that. And don't forget, get your white or blue gear. Go to gopsusports.com so you make sure you're wearing your white or blue gear this weekend, depending on what section you're in at Beaver Stadium. But great work by our producer, Ross Woomer. As always, I'm Brian Tripp saying so long from the Lasch Football Building tonight. We'll catch you after the game for the Unrivaled postgame show for exclusive access, exclusive content after a Penn State victory coming up on Saturday from Beaver Stadium. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Have a great night.